Chapter 13, Part 2. Woohoo! All right, let's keep talking about these renewables: solar, wind, geothermal, and hydrogen. All right, so let's move into it. All right, so we introduced by talking about passive solar energy, but active solar energy is muy importante. I mean, look at all the areas of this country that can get sun. San Antonio being one of them. Yep. So, active solar energy is whenever we capture sunlight and we use things like photovoltaic solar cells to convert that into electricity. So, active solar can be used to create electricity like that. We can also use it to heat water and use it as heating systems within houses and stuff. And so it has potential, but it also has potential for advancement and growth as well. Okay. So there's benefits and drawbacks of this whole solar energy system. And you may have solar panels on your house. You may not. Your parents probably get like 50 phone calls a day if they want them. There are lots of initiatives by the government to try to make this more of a worthwhile investment for people, because there can be a very expensive upfront cost if you were to put these on your house. All right, but let's talk about the pros. So basically, you can get nice hot water or electricity, and it's clean for the air. Is places like here where you have a lot of hot sunny days, you have a really high demand for electricity. Guess what? You can offset most of that, if not all of it, by using active solar technologies. And then also that photovoltaic system, they're becoming cheaper and cheaper. And if you install it on your own house, then you don't have to, use transmission lines to pass the electricity to somebody else. So you create it on your roof and you use it in your house. So that's kind of nifty, and it is becoming more economical. Here's the bad things. They still are very expensive. They're, again, new technology is always coming about. We personally don't have solar panels on our house because I'm waiting for a little bit more technology to come out and a little bit better incentives. I don't think that the bang for the buck for my personal pocketbook is worth it yet. The manufacturing of these photovoltaic cells, it's kind of energy intensive, but then also one bad thing is that they do include toxic materials in some of those solar panels. Some of the batteries and other, like the metals and stuff that are found in them, can be really bad pollutants, but then also the mining process to get to these can also be bad as well. And then what do you do with these things whenever they're done? So whenever a solar panel's dead and it's lived its life, what do you do with it? So, because it contains some of this bad stuff, that's a quandary. Okay. All right. So of the two, we have wind energy and solar energy. These are the two in the United States, especially, that are gaining popularity the fastest, which is awesome. And which one's gaining most? Wind. And the cool thing about wind energy is that it's if you don't have the wind right then, you're gonna and where they put up these farms. It is the fastest growing around the world for a lot of reasons. Is you can put it up in a lot of different places. It's also not super expensive, as we'll see, but then too, it's more efficient. You get more bang for your buck. So here is some examples of how the wind capacity and the percentage of energy that's gained from wind is seen around the world. Like China has a huge wind capacity usage, but they don't utilize wind energy very much yet. I say yet, hopefully they will. Whereas Denmark, if you see Denmark here, they don't have a lot of potential in capacity, but by gosh, they try to use as much as they can, okay? Which is pretty cool. All right, so how do we do this? Well, we talked about water turbines. Now we're going to talk about wind turbines. Similar concept, except this time it's just air moving. The air moves the turbines, right? The big uh, fan blade looking things. And as it moves, that creates kinetic energy. That kinetic energy then converts into a generator, and that generator, oh, you get electricity, which is pretty awesome. Okay. Um, so it's you do have a like a wiring system that transmit this electricity to rural areas, which again is good. And the turbines typically are found in packs. No, I'm just kidding. They tend to be found in in big groups, and we like to call those wind farms and sometimes parks. But I like wind farms. So here's a picture, the anatomy of a wind turbine. And I'm sure you have seen these. They are huge up in person. But they are pretty cool. All right, here's advantages. It's non-depletable. Non-depletable. There's always going to be wind. And even if you don't have wind today, you're going to have wind tomorrow. And they are finding ways in order to store some of that electricity that may be gained on super windy days and then used on days where you don't have as much wind. They are working on that. That's another technology advancement. And then once they're installed, there's really not a lot. There's some maintenance that goes in, but not a lot of work that goes with these wind turbines. And there's no greenhouse gases. Wind farms can share land with other uses. So that's kind of cool. So a lot of wind farms will share cropland with farmers or ranchers. And so that's kind of helpful, kind of gives them an economic boost. Here's the bad things. A lot of off-grid residential wind energy systems rely on batteries to store, as I mentioned, and that technology is getting better. But again, it's batteries, so you're using chemicals, you're using heavy metals. Wind turbines can be noisy and unattractive. A lot of people hate the way they look. They hate them. And noisy, the newer ones aren't as noisy as the prior generations, but yeah, you can hear it. But to me, I'd rather hear that than like a transformer box right behind my house. And as many as 40,000 birds are killed by wind turbine blades in the United States each year. I don't know who's counting to get this number. And it's funny because I've seen studies that say that this number is way over the top estimation, that it's only like maybe 5 to 10,000. And then I've seen other estimates that's like, nope, this is dead on. So I'm going to be honest. Is it really 40,000 birds? I personally, I don't know. Bats can also be killed by the wind turbines. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It just they don't move that fast. Move. Okay. All right. Last one for this part. Geothermal energy. Geothermal is actually really cool. So geothermal energy is an energy source from underneath the ground. It's hot underneath there. Why not use it? If we can tap it, use it, right? So it's just like drilling for oil. But this way, what we're doing is we are using the heat, not another resource. And this is really great in areas around the world where that they have a lot of access to the areas underneath the in the crust and top of the mantle, where that we can use this thing like the one that always comes to me is Iceland. Iceland is a great uses a lot of this, and they use it very well. And they're finding new resources, new ways to use it too, which is pretty cool. So what happens in geothermal is we have a heat pump, and what it does is it gets heat from under the ground, pumps it up, pump it up, and then it provides heat. That heat can then be converted into electricity if needed, but a lot of times it's just kept as heat for heating places. Iceland's kind of cold, so it works, right? And other upper parts of Alaska and Canada, they're trying to do the same here as well. And sometimes, and one of the cool things too is that pump part machinery and mechanics is oftentimes utilized by either wind power or solar power to offset. So in this picture here, you'll see that we have like this compressor, and what it does is there's pipes that go way down deep underground, depending on where you are, and you pump water or another liquid that goes down deep, gets hot, and as it gets hot, it rises back up and it's pumped back through, and then that heat is released or exchanged out into an area. All right, I said that was the last one. I always forget about hydrogen. That's how important it is to me. Yeah. All right. Okay. Hydrogen. Hydrogen has potential, but I don't know how promising it is. And this is why. Hydrogen itself is not a very stable element. In its true molecular form, it is not. But they are finding ways in which that they can improve upon this. And one of those is in fuel cells, and where they can take hydrogen and convert it into an electrical current. And then we also have electrolysis, and electrolysis is used in all sorts of different things, not necessarily using hydrogen. Sorry, I got a news notification. But the application of this is, what it does is you send electricity through water, H2O, and it breaks it into hydrogen and oxygen. So that's one way that we can capture just the hydrogen and then utilize that. So hydrogen fuel cells, like if we were to use this in a vehicle, what happens is you have these membranes, and electricity is passed through these membranes, where in this hydrogen moves through it. Okay, you have this reaction layer, and these electrons are removed, and so all you get left is protons. Well, you send them back out through this bottom reaction layer, and it joins back with oxygen that's in the atmosphere, and ta-da, you have water. So the really cool thing about this is, instead of you have an exhaust fuel and exhaust, and you're pumping out all this nasty carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, you're like, oh, water vapor, look. All right. Last part, planning our energy future. So how do we use or shift from non-renewable to renewable, from becoming polluted to not as polluting with our energy, right? So to do this, we have to focus on things on being sustainable. So we talked about at the very beginning, how energy efficient are we being? Are we conserving energy? And are we working towards and developing better technologies for these energy sources that we have? So we have to put all this together, and we are improving upon this. And with better incentives, especially from things like the government and private sectors, businesses themselves putting efforts into this, then yes, we will get there even faster. So what a smart grid does is, it's pretty cool. Smart grid, it kind of regulates itself in a way. And what it does, it's like, oh, wow, over here we have the wind. It's really windy today. So we're going to use this wind energy first because we have it. And then, but it's not very, sunny today. So I don't need to worry about, utilizing the solar cells on the solar farm that is on this side of town. So it's kind of a way of using what's available. So smart grid, this is kind of what it would look like in a home. And that's it. All right. So chapter 13, done and done.